David Douglas regular school board meeting to order a little late around 7:04. Thank you all so much for your patience. So to start off, I am going to go ahead and read off a Native American land acknowledgement. Today, I would like to acknowledge the people whose land we are gathered on. Present-day Portland is located on the traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Cathlamet, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Molalla, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia and Willamette rivers. Excuse me. Let us also acknowledge the robust Native community made up of tribal diversity that originates from around the country and whose journeys have brought them to Portland by ways of forced displacement or seeking opportunities. Today, these same communities celebrate their heritage, showing resilience and tenacity that would be greatly admired by their ancestors. Awesome. Hello. Then we're just going to move on to the next item. We have our student body president report, so go ahead.
Hi. What's up? Since it's Native American Heritage Month, I'm Mayan, so my family's indigenous to Mexico. So if like we're from Quintana Roo, which is underneath Yucatan. It's where Cancun is, which I'm sure most of you have heard of. So if Mexico's a J, then it's at like the bottom of the J over here. So I'd like to teach you how to say like how are you, and I'm good, a response to that in Mayan, indigenous language. So to say how are you, you would say bish yani kech. Bish yani kech. Mm. And that's how are you, or como estás, or how are you. And then to respond, you would say ma'alob. And it's it's an interesting sound because it kind of jumps, so it's ma'alob with a B at the end. Ma'alob. So you say, Bishani Ketch? Exactly. Good job. Awesome. So, let's see. We're working on some cool stuff for student council. I wasn't able to go, but a lot of like ASB and some other student council members went to Seaside for an OASC conference, Oregon Association of Student Councils. I heard it was really cool. There's a big focus on mental health, which is really awesome. And I know that this year was introduced, students have like mental health days now, which is really awesome. So we're working on creating awareness on like how to communicate that to students and how people should use those. Also, right now we're working on Winter Assembly, which is really cool. It's going to be December 13th, Friday the 13th, and it's going to be right after our next board meeting. And with that, we are, the Saturday after that, the next day after that is going to be Winter Formal, which the underclassmen are preparing right now, and the theme's not out yet, but I'm sure if you guys look on the Instagram or or some webpage or something, that the information will be out there, and I can also bring the theme back at next meeting. And then what's also going to be introduced into Winter Assembly is our Scots Angels, which we have chosen, and then we have two young girls that are between the ages of 11 and 12. One is a girl who is like a Burmese refugee and has a kidney disease, and the other has a brain tumor. And so we're introducing these two young girls in our assembly. I'm not sure if they're going to be present or not, but it's definitely always a very emotional assembly, having to face like these realities of people in our community. And there's a lot of empathy and there's a lot of love. So it's definitely an assembly that you might consider going to as well. And that's all of my report.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And as always, you're definitely always welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you can. Did you happen to get an agenda if you wanted to follow along? Do you have a copy? Yeah, okay. Okay, great, cool. Great. We are excited that you're excited. Awesome. Okay, so the next item we have is attendee input. So let's see, we have several folks testifying, and if I mispronounce your name, feel free to correct me. The first person we have up is Chantel Waddell. And feel free to push the button on that mic to turn it on. You can sit in the front here, and yeah, welcome. Go ahead and push the button. Yeah, and then you'll see that, there you go.
Can I ask Nicole to come join me?
Sure, Nicole Saunders?
Sanders?
Sure, yeah, that's fine. I'll have you all both go to.
So, well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chantel Waddell, and I'm from Self Enhancement. We are all from Self Enhancement. And one of the things I wanted to come and share about is basically really to introduce myself. I am a Sun Program Manager for Self Enhancement, and I oversee half of our SCI Sun School sites, and David Douglas is one of them. Nicole Sanders is the site manager here, and she's new to the building this year. Super excited to be working directly with her, and my main role is to support her in the work here through the Sun Community School. And I wanted to just share a little bit about kind of what you get when you partner with Self Enhancement. I've worked for the agency for the past 13 years, and in the Sun School world as a site manager for about 11 of those years, and then this is my second year as a program manager over the Sun program. And I love this work. I love getting the opportunity to be in schools, working with youth, working with staff, working with community members, as well as, parents and community partners. And to be able to support our staff in the work that they do here so that they can be, they can show up in a way that they can be support for the kids that they serve. So there's 7 of our fundamental beliefs that SCI, it's basically, it's kind of when we're looking for staff to work for our agency, which is, close to 40 years old. We've been doing youth work and supporting our community of color. We are basically looking for staff who embody these fundamental beliefs, and there's 7 of them. And it's something you can't really necessarily teach. It's really something that we want to see in people, that innately in people, that they exhibit and they have that in their own belief systems. And so I wanted to share that with you. 1 is all children can and will succeed. 2 is all children have a gift. 3 is when children are presented with options and exposure, they will discover their purpose and realize their potential. We also believe, number 4, all children can learn. Number 5, we see kids for who they can become rather than who they are today. And number 6, we believe all children develop best when surrounded by caring and nurturing adults. And number 7, we believe that staff members are 100% responsible for the relationship. And so these are the beliefs that our staff come into the schools with, come into the classrooms with, into families' lives with, and it's really what we value in addition to many other things. And so just a little bit of history about SCI, and kind of to let you know that we're super excited to be able to partner with this district and serve our youth and families here.
Oh, thank you. My name is Nicole Sanders. Thank you guys for letting us speak tonight. We're very excited to be here. We love to represent SCI and Sun Schools out here in East County. I just wanted to give you guys some background about kind of what we've done in Sun so far this year. So we thus far have 447 students enrolled in SCI Sun programming. We support 27 clubs. They're ranging from culturally specific clubs like BSU to MSA. We have neurodiverse clubs like All Peers United. We help work with them. We have STEM-focused clubs. This year we added Mesa. Everyone's really excited about that. And we are fostering an internship with the Oregon Water Bureau with that club and our BSU. It's really exciting. We also have so many more clubs. There's 27 of them. They're sometimes hard to keep track of, but we're super excited to have so many students involved after school. We also have a student pantry. On average, 20 students a week are using this pantry. And then on Thursdays, we have the big community pantry where we have 300 plus community members using that pantry. We also support families with adult language classes. They're actually happening right down the hall tonight. You can see that. We have students of all ages. So we have from 3 to like 60. It's really ranging, but it's great to see everyone in our community here and involved. We have yoga classes, we help with rental assistance, we do clothing, and often we drop off clothing and food to our families once we get asked for that. We have a wonderful team at David Douglas. We've really come together this year to host some really great events. We had a barbecue, we're working on holiday drives and shopping hours for families this year, parent nights, barbecues, and then the Black History Month Assembly. Me and Atima and Amber are working hard on making that happen for this year. When Sun is able to have a cooperative relationships with administration and school staff, we are fully able to promote the success of our families and our students because they know they have a community behind them that supports them. And that is really at the heart of our work, and we're so excited to be doing that at David Douglas because it's such a wonderful school. I also have a piece, my assistant coordinator, so I have two assistants. They're named Brian and Denasia, and they're fantastic. They're both alums of color here, and I think it's really important that we're here to help guide the work and really be models in what our school can be. They both are attending school, so I'm reading kind of a passage that Brian has given me, if you guys don't mind. Okay. My name is Brian Flores Garcia. I'm an extended day coordinator at David Douglas Sun Program. While I could not be here today, I've written a statement with hopes that my passion and gratitude for this program will reach you all. I was a student at David Douglas myself almost 5 years ago. Now, at the end of my college career, I often reflect on the forces that led me here, to graduation, to college, to adulthood. Sun and the community that the community it created is one of those forces. David Douglas is an immense and sometimes overwhelming place to get an education. The school practically buzzes when it's active for so many students. It makes building relationships extremely challenging. When school's in session, everything is go, go, go. As a result, there's rarely time to connect with our peers, especially those we don't know yet. Sometimes David Douglas didn't seem like a place I belonged. Then I joined Sun. Joining Sun didn't change everything all at once. It didn't need to. The only thing I was looking for was a place to belong in a community. Through Upward Bound, this is one of the programs we help oversee with Sun, I found a wonderful advisors and peers I could turn to if needed. I was given access to resources, opportunities that allowed me to see college as a reality. I talked to a lot about higher education, but I never saw it happening before Upward Bound. Now at the end of it, months away from graduation and a career I'm absolutely in love with, I am so eternally grateful for this club and the millions of ways it supported myself and my family. Older now, I've decided to come back to David Douglas because I want to be able to provide students with the safety and community that I had when I was a student here. Being a part of this program, this program presented me with many opportunities for growth, and it's exactly why I'm here now, to support our students through some of the most important parts of their young lives. I'm thankful for this program, its leadership, and the opportunity to be part of this amazing work. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And if you can explain this again, I assume that there is a reason this is here. We're new to the board.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Just for future folks coming forward.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I didn't even see it. So the lights indicate the time that you all have. We usually allot about 3 minutes, so it should start beeping yellow or blinking when you have, 30 seconds? A minute left? Yeah, correct. Blink, not beep. And then it will turn to the red light when your time is up. But we are usually pretty flexible. I certainly won't cut you off, but just, complete your thoughts. We don't have too many folks signed up today, so it's not so much of an issue right now. Yeah, but thanks for that reminder. So the next person I'll ask to come up is Stephen Davis.
I'm Javon. I'm on there.
Okay.
Yes.
Javon Williams.
Yes.
Awesome.
Did I push anything? Am I good?
Welcome.
Okay. Hello, my name is Javon Williams, and I am the East County Program Manager for Self-Enhancement. This is my second year in this position, but I have served as an in-school coordinator prior for 7 years. but I also had the privilege of being a student in the program. So I just want to talk, just kind of give it like a brief overview of SCI and what it is we do. We have a continuum of services, and those services include our summer program, which is a 5-week summer program that our students attend. We have our in-school program, which is what Stephen will talk more about. We have our after-school program. We have parent coordinator and services, and those, just how we have an in-school coordinator for our students, our families are also given a coordinator, so we call those parent coordinators. We have our community and family programs, and leadership and post-high. So once students graduate from high school, they are still attached to someone that follows them through whatever it is that they decide. So whether it's, post-secondary education, or if it's a trade, or, straight to the workforce, someone follows them. We have a thing that we call which we use, which is like the relationship model. And we feel that one of the greatest factors in helping a student get through some barriers is having one pro-social adult in their life. And that is what we offer with our in-school service coordinators. We like to play 3 roles with our students, and that is the parent, the teacher, and the mentor. And we feel that every situation requires a different interaction, and that is why we play various roles. Stephen,
Great. Thanks for having us. Again, my name is Stephen. I am the in-school coordinator here at David Douglas. It's been my second. I did 1 full year here at Douglas. Been in the, got hired in SCI, last year. Wow, that seemed like it's longer. And so again, I'm in-school coordinator. What I do is I come in to provide 24/7 case management, tracking academic achievement, behavioral accountability, and student advocacy here on campus. But my role spreads out a little bit more. When the doors open, obviously there's advocacy inside inside campus, but also when the doors close, outside of school. So it's 24/7. And we're just there for our students. Javon shared a little bit about the 3-prong model, the mentor, parent, teacher. As a mentor, I provide consistent and constant model and motivation towards success. As a parent, obviously we know many of our students don't have a parent figure in their home or aren't present. And so we come in to help be the extension of that. The school has been very gracious in offering meetings when they open up those meetings to invite me in those conversations so that I'm able to relay that to our parents who are working 15, 16 hours a day. And we're able to kind of provide that resource for our parents as well. So that's where I come in as well. Also, we have something called individual success plans. We sit down with our students and we have them think up and create goals for the year. One of those goals is scholastic goals, academic goals, a personal goal, a social goal, and career goals. Obviously, GPA goals as well too. And so we meet with them. We try to meet with them once a month, one-on-ones, to make sure they're reaching those goals or getting to that outcome. And every one of our students reaches their goals, and we're really, really proud of that too. For 38 years, I'm privileged enough to work for SCI. I wasn't in SCI as a young person, but I was able to see the success of the relationship model throughout the 38 years of, I'm not that old. But just being at Jefferson High School, seeing that relationship model really work with my peer group and my friends. And when I got the opportunity to work for SCI, I jumped right on, and I'm just blessed to be a part of this program because it's very successful. So. We also have some students here. We have some former students that I'd love for one to, I don't know if you guys want to.
Sure. Did they sign up already?
They did.
Are they on the list?
They are
Okay.
on the list.
Well, I'll go
Is that
ahead
okay?
and call them
Okay.
up. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So the next person I think is Angel Vaughn. And then I have Kaylin? Sorry, what was it? Kende? Yes, then Kende Timothy. So I don't know if you all want to come up together or one by one, but it's Angel, Kende, and Tane, or Tay? Tay. Taye. Are there other students or other folks who, that's all? Okay, all right. Go ahead. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Awesome. You don't have to worry about the lights. Just go ahead and
Hi.
try whenever you can.
Hello. Thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to speak. Here, really appreciate it. My name is, sorry. My name is Taya Timothy. Also, people know me as Connie Bell, so I go by either. Anyway, so I've been a part of SEI for about 3 years now. So starting I believe my sophomore year of David Douglas. So being in the program has really helped me grow mentally and academically, and also just build that personal relationship with my coordinators and working with my peers. Being that David Douglas is such a huge school, it was hard for me at first to navigate it and figure out where I could belong and where I could be a part of something. And also though David Douglas is pretty diverse, sometimes even as a Black student here, it's a little bit difficult for people to come together, and it seems a little bit divided in a sense, even though we have so many different people from all over. So SEI just kind of formulated that. And just being with my mentors, and I had someone who I could go to and talk about things I was facing in the school. I had people I can connect with as far as my academic progress, and all throughout my college process, figuring out what schools I wanted to apply for, and what programs I would be interested in. I had that support that I needed, and it's just been a really good experience. So I really enjoyed having SEI in our school. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kende. SCI really helped me in the way that Steven, he was actually my coordinator. It really helped me because I had he gave me different advice where I was able to, apply for college, and when I was stumped, I could come to him for a question. Maybe there's a college and career center in the school, but there's not that personal person that you could always go to, maybe when they're not open, I can just email him very quickly, and I could quickly get that response. Just like he was saying, it's 24/7. You can always go to them when you need something outside of school. And also, I really like something that Ty didn't mention is that SCI also rewards students, which is good because it's also a way of encouraging students for just doing good things. I think you mentioned a lot of the stuff that SCI does. Yeah. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Angel, and I've been in SEI since sophomore year, and SEI has taught me how to be a young adult and know the responsibilities of being Black and stuff like that. And I'm really blessed to be in SEI because not a lot of kids get into it, and some kids don't have I don't know the word, but some kids, they don't get the proper stuff resources that we get and stuff like that. And it's helped me with home stuff and school and stuff like that, because kind of school is kind of hard for me, and SEI has helped me through that, so I don't struggle really that much as I used to freshman year and a little bit of sophomore year. And I feel that SEI should be for everybody, and no kid should be left out, and they're not. And I feel it's a really good program.
Thank you all so much. Is there anyone else from your group that wanted to say a few words about SEI at all? That was all that we had signed up. But thank you all so much for coming out. We really appreciate it. So thank you. All right. The next item that we have is a Native American Heritage Month proclamation. So this proclamation, you all colleagues should have a copy of this in front of you. It's a shorter one. Are you happy about that? Really what happened was that I didn't have enough time to put in all of the additional information that I wanted. That's what happened. So just as background for the folks in the audience, we have recently started the implementation of culturally specific Heritage Month proclamations at David Douglas School District. This is the second year that we are doing this. Thus far this year, we have proclaimed, I think, September as Latinx Heritage Month, and then we have several more coming that we did last year that we would welcome folks in the community who are already engaging in the district to be a part of and to come and testify and provide input into the proclamations. Those include, we have Black History Month, Women's History Month, Asian Pacific Islander month, and then we do also an LGBTQ Pride Month proclamation. I may be missing another one. So anyway, so this month we are going to be proclaiming November as Native American Indian Heritage Month. So I'll just read it off really quickly, and I wanted to thank, oh, sorry, excuse me, for the proclamation. Oh, we do. Oh, yay, great. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I will turn it over to you then. It looks like we have some folks that want to testify on the proclamation, which is great. So I'll turn it over to you if you can do the introduction so that I don't mess up folks' names.
Right. So if we could welcome Floyd Light parent Terry Gerald to come and speak on
Welcome.
on behalf of our Native American Parent Advisory Committee. And for those of you that attended or didn't have the chance to attend our recent first inaugural Native Cultural Night on October 17th, there's a video that Josh created for us, and it's posted on our Facebook page and our website, and Terry performed at our cultural night, and so she's highlighted in the video along with her son, Joe. So welcome, Terry. Thank you for coming tonight.
You're welcome. As Kelly pointed out, my name's Terry Gerald. I am a Pend Oreille Salish from the Flathead Reservation in Montana. We are tied to all of the coastal Salish here. We are the only ones that hunt buffalo instead of fish for salmon. So, a little different. But, and if you ever look at my regalia, it's got a lot of buffalo on. That's the reason why. It's timely to have this month. It's also timely for this week because it is Rock Your Mocks week. And I have been wearing them all week because the whole point of Rock Your Mocks week is making the invisible visible. Native Americans tend to fade into the woodwork. There are only about 30% of Native Americans on reservations. The rest of them are urban, but you don't hardly ever see or hear about them because they're so small, such a small part of the population. And it shows even in as diverse a school system as here. My son, he is the bright orange fancy dancer you'll see in the video. He wore his moccasins today, and every time he does wear them for Rock Your Mocks, he gets comments about how Indians have all died off. He hears about, he hears all sorts of the derogatory comments that goes with it. He's had teachers explain to him how various events supposedly happened. Like Thanksgiving is supposed to have been this whole great thing where natives and whites came together, and that's really not what happened. That stuff is not getting brought forward correctly. So there is still ways to go. I'm really happy we have NAPAC. I'm really happy we've been able to bring some books into the school. I am really happy that we're developing a statewide curriculum. I think that is very critically important, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we can support that better. I also wanted to give a call out to Mr. Pease because he has flags in the cafeteria, and he realized that Indian tribes also have flags because they're also nations. And right now he's only got the Flathead Nation one up, but he is willing and interested in putting up more. And I think that would be really good if other schools could do that too. It gives the students that are Native some visible presence, and I think that would be very helpful. So I just wanted to say thank you. I really do appreciate the support, and I hope that the school board remains committed in keeping Native Americans visible.
Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you. Okay, so with that, sorry, Jared, go ahead.
I wasn't planning to speak, but is it okay if I speak on this?
Of course.
I really, what you said about like making the invisible visible, like really resonated with me. So like I am Mayan, so I'm indigenous, and what that means has been really like interesting for me to try to figure out, because the only time I've ever seen, okay, let me step back. Earlier this year, someone came up, like I told them like that was mine or whatever, and they're like, "You're a unicorn," and I was like, I don't know what that means. And they basically what they meant is like you're like mythical, like you don't like I didn't know you existed, like I didn't know that like you like were real. Like I thought, because the only time, like unicorns are only represented in like fairy tales, and the only time I've seen myself is in history textbook in middle school, where just like a paragraph about like the Mayan Empire or something like that, and Mel Gibson's Apocalypto, which has a dude pulling a heart out of another dude. And so what it means to be like indigenous in today's society, like in an urban society, I've never really seen myself role modeled or whatever. So that's been kind of like hard for me to like figure out. Do I like YouTube my traditions, or how do I like find a community to find myself in? Has been hard too. And then this year I just started meeting some other people that speak Maya. Like I know I met one other student at David Douglas that speaks like the same Maya that like my dad speaks, and now I'm learning as well. And then like some students from Guatemala that also know the language in a different dialect. But like before, like it's always been really hard trying to like find like who like see, because I was very like didn't even see myself. So I think it's really important. That's what I want to say.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Anyone else? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay. Oh, keep it on. All right. So, David Douglas School District Proclamation proclaiming the month-long celebration of National Native American Indian Heritage Month in November. Whereas Native American Indians are descendants of the original indigenous inhabitants of what is now the United States, the first Americans, and whereas the Native Americans were the first stewards of our environment, contribute to the unique identity of the Pacific Northwest, represented the early voices for the values that defined our nation, and whereas Native American Indians maintain vibrant cultural heritage, rich traditions, and hold a deeply rooted sense of community, and whereas there are 117 Native American Indian/Alaska Native students representing 52 tribes/bands from across the nation enrolled as students in the David Douglas School District, and there are 953 students who self-identify as ethnically and or racially Native American/Alaskan Native students. And whereas we cannot ignore nor erase the consequences of our country's long and unfortunate history of violence, discrimination, and deprivation of the Native Americans, but we can commit to working together for a bright future. And whereas the district recently created a Native American parent advisory group to further its efforts of forming strong relationships in a culturally appropriate way and to provide feedback and guidance to district leaders on improving outcomes and providing opportunities for Native American youth in the district. And whereas the district has an adopted equity policy that states our commitment to closing the achievement gap for Indigenous peoples and creating an educational environment where all students can benefit equally from the educational programs offered, and whereas the district is working towards eliminating the racial predictability and disproportionality of all aspects of education and has recently established a racial equity committee, and whereas the district earlier last year proclaimed every second Monday of October to be Indigenous Peoples Day as an opportunity to reflect upon the ongoing struggles of Indigenous people of this land, to celebrate the thriving cultures and values of the Indigenous peoples of our region, and to stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples elsewhere. Now, therefore, I, Andrea Valderrama, Chair of the David Douglas School Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim the month-long celebration of National Native American Indigenous Heritage in the David Douglas School District to occur in the month of November. Be it further resolved that the David Douglas School Board of Directors strongly encourages our staff and community to observe, recognize, and celebrate the culture, heritage, and contributions of Native Americans to our country, our state, our cities, and our schools. All right, thank you. Okay, so moving right along, we have the consent agenda. This is an action item before you all. Does anyone have any comments, or would anybody like to make a motion?
I move we accept consent agenda.
Second.
Comments? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
I don't know why I keep turning this off. The next item we have is our legislative update from Stacy Michelson. Hello, welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
It's been a while since I think I've been at one of your full meetings. There's some new faces.
Yeah.
So for those who I haven't had the chance to meet yet, I'm Stacy Michelson. I do government affairs for all of the districts in East Multnomah County, position based out of the ESD, to do some regional collaborative work with our legislators in Salem and then regional elected officials as well. So I don't want to belabor too much time when Ken asked me to come in and give a legislative update. I know that you've all probably gotten lots of information about what happened in 2019 via COSA and OSBA. I'm in the midst of OSBA right now, but if there are any questions about anything that has passed, go ahead and flag those. I'll do my best to answer off the top of my head, or I can do some research and get back to you if needed. But I will just do a quick overview of kind of the big buckets of issues that we saw highlighted in 2019, which include student behavioral health, a lot of suicide prevention, anti-bullying, harassment, employee conduct, obviously PERS and OEB issues, and then the biggest of all is really the Student Success Act. So just to kind of give you a quick update, because the devil is always in the details, so now that that bill has passed, we're in the midst of rulemaking, and along with COSA and OSBA and our other partners, myself and PPS's lobbyist, Beaverton's lobbyist, we're all in the process of monitoring that rulemaking process with the various agencies, so both ODE as well as ELD, the Early Learning Division, and the Youth Development Commission. So next week, we have some meetings through ODE specifically around the summer Title I programs, school nutrition, and starting to look at what the student investment account distribution formula will look like in a little bit more depth. So we should hopefully have some more information out for you all on that soon. And then through the Early Learning Division, they're solidifying rules around what will be options for funding through the early learning bucket of the Student Success Act, and Youth Development Commission will have responsibility for things like the re-engagement programs and how we'll be able to use those funds. So once we have more information about what those rules look like and have been approved, we will get those out to you, but just know that that's kind of the process that we're at this point, is tracking that and following those discussions and representing school district interests in that process. For those who maybe don't know, this is just kind of a little more detail on the work around SSA, because ESDs did get some funding through that statewide initiatives bucket in the bill. We have hired Angela Hubbs at the ESD, former curriculum director over at Centennial, to do our Student Success Act implementation work. So she'll be working with all of the leads in the various districts around the region, helping to provide technical assistance in the lead up to submitting your student investment account applications. And then also kind of on the back end of that, helping to do some regional level thinking where there is alignment in priorities across the districts. So we're really excited to have her on board and to be able to have some of those regional discussions, because I think there will be a lot of similar work and similar priorities happening. And we know that our students move between our districts quite a lot out here in East County. So kind of putting 2019 behind us, we're in the process of getting ready for the 2020 short session. So that will begin in February and will end March 8th or 9th, I believe is our sine die target date there. So next week we have 3 days of legislative committee hearings starting on Monday, going through Wednesday. And then the bill filing request, or bill request deadline rather, so for folks to request what they would like to see in legislation, is next Friday. And so just keep in mind that the bills are significantly limited in a short session. Depending on chamber, every member has maybe only 2 bills and then a handful of committee bills. So unlike a long session where we'll see thousands of bills, we might see a few hundred in the short session. And it moves so quickly that only those issues that have been really keyed up for success will move, and anything else, people sort of view the short session as an opportunity to start a discussion about an issue that will likely come back in the next long session. So it just kind of frames the timing of what that looks like. So we should know more next week about what bill ideas are kind of floating in the ether for the short session. We do know that ODE has some sort of technical fix bill around the Student Success Act. I don't know exactly what is in that yet, but I have been told by committee staff that it does not include any budget pieces, and that anything that would require money is strictly not to go in that bill because they don't want it to get held up in the Ways and Means process. So I do have faith in the agency that that really is just a tweaking bill. It is likely, however, that plenty of the business community and sort of select interests will be coming to the legislature asking for some relief and carve out, either in the tax or how they would like to be treated within student success. I've heard some rumors that oral health folks kind of want to be called out specifically in a way that they weren't in the original round. So those are the kind of types of things that you might see coming up. And I wouldn't expect to see a lot of those minor issues have much success in the short session. I've also heard that we'll see a dual credit and credit transferability bill come back in the short session. As you're likely aware, that's something that we've had that discussion sort of year after year after year, sounding like we might be lined up to see that move in 2020. And again, if not, then that'll just be another opportunity to queue that up for 2021. But I think there's been enough momentum and enough pressure put on our partners over in higher ed that folks are getting pretty passionate about wanting to see some movement around that issue. So I am optimistic there. I will flag one potentially proactive thing that some folks in our region, including the ESD, are looking at as a possible tweak to how we fund our education programs for youth in detention and correction facilities. Remains to be seen whether that's something that we can have some consensus between stakeholders for a short session or whether that would be a long session fix. But that's just one area that I'll flag that is a system that is underfunded structurally and has been flagged as something that partners want to see some work done around, because very at-risk students who are not getting the same level of funding that they would get in a home district. So there's kind of an equity issue there that was not quite captured within the Student Success Act work in 2019 in that budget. Beyond that, even though it seems early, we are starting to look to 2021 already. I was on a call with some agency folks recently, and they pointed out to us that they will need to have their initial bill requests into the governor's office by March, April of next year. So pretty much right after we end short session, agencies are queuing up their bills for 2021. So we'll be jumping right into those early conversations around what we want to see, what we don't want to see, where we think we need to see corrections, because we will probably have a better sense around Student Success Act and what feels like it's working well or where we maybe need a little more clarification or assistance there. So that'll be a lot of 2021, but we do know both ODE and COSA have acknowledged that every few years the agency usually does a sort of paperwork cleanup bill where we try to align the timelines of when reports and applications are due. And we've been assured that yes, 2021, we're planning on having that conversation again and trying to align those deadlines because we've been hearing a lot of that, particularly given the Student Success Act between SIP and SIA, as well as title reports. We know that you guys are really scrambling to get that work done. So we'll try to get that cleaned up. And then we'll expect to see the kind of perennial issues in 2021 as well, discussions around class size, issues of funding for our SPED students and high cost disability issues, school year length, kind of those. I think PE is floating out there, the mandate for everyone around whether we can get some relief on that one. Just those kind of ongoing conversations that we don't have time for in a short session because it really is so protracted. So that's sort of the quick overview. Happy to answer any questions about what happened or what we think we're going to be looking forward to. And then one other piece that I would like to flag for you all and sort of put to the board as a consensus question. When I came into this role, so in 2017, Park Rose had done a local advocacy day, and they have asked me this year to pick that back up for them. So they have created a model where their district administrative leadership team and their board sort of sit stable in a room, and then we line it up so that our local and regional electeds would rotate through. So rather than you all going out to them, we bring them to you, and usually do that at about 30-minute blocks, but all of that could be sort of flexible. And so I just kind of put that out as an option of something that I am happy to help with. And if I just see a number of nodding heads, I think Ken and I can kind of coordinate that's something we can move forward with, starting to find a date on them and put together for you all. So with that, yeah, I will put that on the to-do list, and I'll coordinate with you and Lori. And then with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Do you have any comments?
I don't have any questions. I want to thank Stacy for her work and continued engagement. A couple others, she mentioned a few of the things, and my understanding is exactly that. The only thing that's really queued up is the dual credit. We happen to have the opportunity to sit in a meeting today and have conversations. But she really hit some of the highlights. One of the things I wanted to flag as well is conversation would be substitute requirements is really a big conversation just because of shortage, which goes along with our workforce shortages and licensing in general. So just those interactions with TSPC, the licensing body, I think there will be a lot of conversation about that, not in the short session, obviously in the long session. And the reason for that, I think, is going to be compounded. Right now we see shortage. Right now we're struggling with that a bit. But when this Student Success Student Investment Account kicks in and we're in a position to start hiring along with 197 other school districts, we're going to see a shortage like we haven't seen before, which will raise that up. I know it's not necessarily on the tip of everyone's, but so just flagging that one as well. Other than that, all those conversations. The other thing I will say as well, just because, and this is, there is a possibility that nothing gets done in the short session, right? There is a question about whether both sides of the aisle will show up at the short sessions, depending what bills do come forward. So that conversation's out there as well. So
that is the elephant in the room.
That is
We're
the
at
elephant in the
Capitol.
room. So
Or not.
that's not necessarily her role, but I can share that with you. So we'll see how that plays out, and it's one step at a time. But that's part of the conversations that I've been hearing as well. So anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think just to piggyback off of that, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to make sure you all had this presentation today so that you can start thinking about some of these priorities that you are hearing about in the region or at least locally, and figure out if there are ways that we can be intentional about our efforts, right? And if, it's worth it in this session or in the next session, knowing that it's always kind of a long game, right? And so, yes, it would be great to have kind of another follow-up conversation to that. You can kind of maybe put something together so that if folks are interested in having that additional conversation with Ken and myself and you, that would be, we're more than happy to make that happen.
Sure, absolutely. I realized I kind of forgot to mention we're working on finishing touches at the ESD of sort of a multi-year calendar, and then also putting together some of our regional shared priorities for the coming year. So when our superintendents meet in December, they'll vet that and then be able to share that out with you all. Because you're right, as we very quickly after short session ends, we'll want to think really strategically about how our board members can engage and how we utilize you all.
Yes, happy to help in that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well,
Yeah, thank you.
just to comment for having the legislators in, I was able to participate in the last one Park Rose does, and it's really advantageous, especially if you don't get an opportunity to speak with them. I do through EPEP often speak with many of the legislators, but it's good to be on that one-on-one, express your concerns, and they, at least our legislators in this area, are very, very friendly to David Douglas. So.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
So the next item we have is our superintendent report.
You bet. So I have a few things to share this evening. I want to start though. I didn't do anything in the basically because of time, but I want to recognize and thank our students again. They're leaving now, but for them to come up and have the courage to have the conversation. Just so well spoken, and on the entire SEI team, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the partnerships, and I wholeheartedly agree it starts with relationships, period. So thank you for the work you guys do every day. It makes a difference, and thank you for bringing the students and giving them the opportunity. They did great. So 2 more recognitions. Again, we've been clipping along, and I just want to recognize it, and I want to thank Terry for presenting this evening, but also I want to apologize, you know, what you shared about your son and certain issues he's gone through and statements, and you know, I'm sorry that occurs, and I'm sorry that happens in our schools still. I also am happy and proud that you recognize Doug, and there are things going well, but again, I want to thank you. I want to thank your son, and if you haven't watched the video and seen them dance, it's the real deal. It was fun, so thank you for doing that. Other son, and again, I apologize, and I know we will continue to get better every day. That is our goal. It's not perfection, but it's to get better every day. So thank you so much. And then Jared, you testified as well. Thank you for sharing your truth. Thank you for recognizing and acknowledging and talking about and educating, really, teaching us. First of all, I've already forgot how to say what I'm supposed to say, but I want to before we leave tonight. So thank you, but thank you to talk about your story and the journey kind of going through, and people talking about unicorns, and I don't know if that was derogatory, just the way it came across or what, but either way, thank you for sharing. It means a lot, so thank you for doing that. So with that said, I took it out of my superintendent's report time, so I'll jump in here. Just a few announcement things to kind of recognize and celebrate. Number one, a thank you to Brooke and her leadership and the entire team, really, but she presented a couple months ago about our CIP, our CIP, Continuous Improvement Plan, that is tied to the Student Success Act. We got notification that our CIP was approved, so we did submit it. It was approved, and the budget narrative was approved as well. So we're fully approved as far as the CIP process. So thank you very much. We appreciate all of the work, absolutely. Number two, this one actually is just today, and I thought you would all be very interested, and I don't have enough information to go into details, but maybe at some other point we could have Florence come talk. I was part of an email that talked about our homeless population, and as of last Friday, we have 302 documented students that are homeless. This is very high at this point. So one is, there might be a good side of this, if I could say it. The bad side is it's very high. The good side is maybe we're doing a better job identifying and communicating and working and networking and connecting resources.
Do you know what it's been in the past?
At this point, it's been, oh, go ahead.
It's a lot less at the very end of the year. It's been like 425.
Yeah, I think about half. I think we're about half, so it's a lot higher. Yeah. Again, Florence, this is an email she was sending out. She's either attributing that we're doing a better job of really connecting and networking and providing supports, or things are that much worse. And I didn't get a chance to talk to her today. I just wanted to share this just because it caught my attention, and I knew it would catch your guys' attention as well. But on top of that is that the housing is really tight right now. She's connected with all the shelters in our area, and very hard to get into. The waiting list, et cetera, et cetera. So she's definitely doing the work she can, but just a heads up to this team, to this board, when you can advocate, when you're part of those conversations, support. We have families in need that are hurting, kids in need that are hurting. So anyway. With that.
Ken, I haven't heard, she's probably too busy to get back to me, but I've asked for the liaison contacts to all the districts because I have a commitment from the Housing Bureau to share those so they're get early notification of affordable housing that's opening up, because those usually get filled up before the list even opens, what they call the list. And by being able to get that early notification, we might be able to get more, schools might be able to get more of their homeless families into housing.
We'll get it to you. Yep, we will get that to you, Frida. Thank you for the flag. Number 3, a heads up, I did send communication out to the entire board, but you'll see it actually posted tomorrow. So this strategic plan RFP, looking for a consultant to come help and guide that work. It's going to get posted tomorrow, and then we'll go through a process of hopefully seeing who's interested, and hopefully we have a number interested so we can then go through a selection process. But just wanted to kind of identify that for you, that we're continuing to move forward with that. Some of these I'm just going to get to you later because they're a little smaller. One is a giant celebration, and I've had the opportunity to also communicate this to you as well, but I wanted to bring it to the attention here, is our equity committee did celebrate the last meeting that they finalized, put together a final draft, so it's completed, that they're going to present to the board. Again, I shared this information, I shared the draft, I shared the attorney feedback, all of that, but I also want to flag that their hope is to have this policy passed before the new year. And again, their ask is that the board would consider that, think about that, and why we're asking that is, by process, it will come to the board next month as a first reading, but if the board would be willing to consider that being a first and second reading, the entire committee is going to be here, and they'd be very excited to think about that a little bit. So if there are questions in the policy, if there's work that would help that possibility, help that maybe occur, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Sahar and Donna are both on the committee. Stephanie was on the committee. Obviously, a previous board member, Kyle, was on the committee. I know he's very excited to see it, but with all that said, I just wanted to share that. I know I've already shared that, but I wanted to bring it to your attention to make sure if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And then the next one is our Student Success Act work. In your packet, you have a calendar here. And there's a number of papers, but the first paper is kind of showing the monthly calendar. And we're down around November now, and you can see submit your continuous improvement plan, so we can check that. That's great. Just a reminder, we currently are still going through the input process. On November 15th is when our first survey closes, but to date so far we have about, I'm rounding up, there's 1288, but 1,300, we have 1,368 individuals that have taken the survey. At the high school, we had individuals take the survey actually through leadership, and Jared was very involved in that. They did their own survey aligned with ours, and they had 1,400 students take it. So they're outpacing our So with that said, we have the specific, I don't have the data from the survey, but I do know the numbers. I also know the last couple weeks we've been in schools. Actually, Andy Long's been at our middle schools getting data, kind of like the middle school did. So we still are going through that process. After November 15th, when it closes, we're very interested to start the process of putting the data together, sharing with the board, and talking about next steps. Where do we go with that data, and how do we use that data to truly plan? Because you could see, you can get down into January, engage in the SIA planning, right? Budgeting and application process. So we're kind of leading up to that step, but we need the data kind of synthesized and going through that process. So,
Ken, are other school districts doing surveys like this to
Yes.
get there?
Yes.
Because I've talked to parents from other school district, and I bring this up, and I said, check your website to see if there's a survey you can fill out, because they've made complaints about their school district.
Oh, yeah,
And I
no,
said,
Park Rose, Gresham Barlow, Reynolds, they all have surveys. PPS, I don't know what PPS did, actually. They're doing open houses. I don't think they did a survey. I don't think, I'm not sure, because they just released their data, but it was based on a survey last year, kind of like our Your Voice Matters last year. But with all that said, most of our neighboring districts, in fact, it's one of the things we're talking about at the county level, because this is going to continue and the county can help. They actually get $3 million of this money to help districts. What if we did a more unified survey across the entire region? So there's been conversations like that. But with that said, if you turn the page, there's a sheet on the actual application process. I'm not going to get into the details yet there. We're a few months away from that, but it's there for your review. But the one thing I did want to focus on and think about a little bit here is the early learning bucket. So remember, Student Success Act. Then we have the student investment account, which is the $500 million, which we get a piece of, that's coming directly to the district. Then there's state initiatives, that's 30% of that, $1 billion. And then there is 20% of $1 billion that goes directly to early learning. And if you look at the next page, you'll see basically a division of that money. You'll see how that's broken up, estimated $200 million, and it goes through all these different opportunities and possible partnerships. And if you see in there, you can see down below where the school districts might be able to fit and connect. The reason I'm saying this is because there's a lot up in the air when it comes to early learning, as you guys know. Also, we're currently applying for the Children's Levy, which we're hoping to open another preschool there. In fact, we're looking at a bilingual preschool, so opening our first bilingual preschool, hopefully at the beginning of next year. So, yeah, very exciting. Pace is very fast. Capacity is a little scary. With that said, I wanted to share with you an announcement, and I have already shared with you, but she happens to be in the audience tonight, acknowledging that we knew as a cabinet capacity we were kind of running thin, and to get this done right, we needed more capacity and we needed some expertise to help guide us. Mary's been doing an amazing job and is an expert in her own right, but we needed more. So we approached Miss Erica Gannay and asked her if she would be willing to engage in some release time from Earl Boyles and serve as an early learning director. So she said yes. So yeah, absolutely. For anyone that doesn't know, Erica is an expert in the field, but not just early learning, parent leadership connections, what she's done at Earl Boyles with partnerships. I know she'd first to say, don't say I did it, we did it, right? But all of the partnerships she's engaged in, the reality is it's a model. It's a model across the state. We're hoping to replicate, continue to develop that, build our current preschool programs with her leadership, but also our new preschool programs, and help juggle all of this work. So she will be serving in a 0.5 role release. She is still the principal at Earl Boyles. We did not feel it was right to pull a principal out fully at this time, so she's going to be dual capacity. But to do that, we were adding an assistant principal at the school to make sure Earl Boyles is taken care of, to make sure it has the leadership it needs. All of this is coming through grant funding. Well, not all of it. 90% of it's coming through grant funding. We're going to have to backfill in a little bit, and you'll see that in the staffing recommendations that we bring to you next month. But ultimately, I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited that we're in a position to not only talk about early learning, not only talk about preschool, but actually invest in it and grow in it. And if we continue with the vision that all 9 of our elementary catchment areas should have an opportunity for any and all kids to access preschool, and not to mention birth to 3, birth to 4, how that's engaged and the needs there, we might be able to get there. We might actually be able to get there. So just wanted to share that update around Student Success Act, announce Erica, recognize her, thank her, and thank the board. I've been communicating off and on with the board in this. A lot of this is repeat for you, but thank you for your flexibility, for your willingness to look at this and to give me feedback, give us feedback. I also want to say that the Student Success Act, I'm going to say this with the caveat, don't panic, but the rules making is still, there's a lot going on, just from the early learning in general. Out of that $200 million that's coming to early learning. You can see a lot of it's not coming and not supposed to come to districts, but there are certain pieces that are, and there's literally people fighting that. There's literally people saying no. There's other people talking about the model. There's a real disconnect. There's some individuals that say invest in the best product possible model, and whoever, if you can only serve 20%, serve 20%, and others are really arguing, no, we can serve 80% and we can continue to advocate to lift the model. So, K-12 is not used to lists and waiting lists. We're used to trying to serve kids and getting kids support. So there's a lot of conversations, a lot of dialogue back and forth, and on top of that, learn this today, and this is the part we're not panicking, but the reality that you guys might have seen in previous communications, by the end of October, we were supposed to have an understanding of the funding. Remember, since day one, I've told you this is the ADMW. I don't know if it's real. Day one, I've told you that equates about $8 million. I don't know if that's real. So into October, we were supposed to have that. Well, we're in November, and we don't have it yet, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason because there's going back and forth, how much will we really get? We're still going to get a significant amount, but there's a possibility we won't get that amount that I was discussing. They're talking about needing to hold more back. So with all of that said, I'll keep you informed, but that's kind of a quick update on Student Success Act. And I think the rest I'll follow up individual or through emails just on some announcement things. Yes.
On the early learning, because I had asked before, but Children's Institute, are they helping advocate, since we have their demonstration site for that model?
Yes.
To be funded? Because I'd hate to see, ours is more convenient for parents to have their kids right in their local school versus one way off here or one way off there, and private sector being funded instead.
Yes. So they are very involved and at the table advocating for early learning, absolutely. And we are still actively partnering with them when it comes to the Children's Levy and the work we're looking at there. We want to partner with them there as well, use them for research, use them for the expertise to talk about programming. I will say, Frida, that not all parents think that way. So the reality of our programming, there are many in the community that do say, no, I want home preschool. I want this model or that model. So, and that's the challenge with this. There's a lot of individuals that look at a lot of different models differently and have different beliefs with it, which I'm okay with. I just know I want to provide the opportunity for kids. I want to provide the opportunity so they can get that connection. We can build those relationships with families early, and from day one, we've talked about early learning. Let's not let the opportunity gap open, right? The earlier we can connect with families and kids and support and provide connections, the better off we are. So that's what we're looking for. Other questions?
Okay. Moving right along. Pat, we have the approval of the sole source vendors.
Yes, at your stations, you have a request for approval of sole source procurements. Under ORS 297B075 for sole source procurements, a local contracting review board may award a contract without competition if the board determines in writing, in accordance with ORS 279-065, that the goods and services are available from only one source. You, the board, are a local contracting review board. So we have two vendors tonight, the Studer Group, and they have an evidence-based leadership framework. This is actually part of what we had referenced in the SIP plan. We cannot find another vendor that uses this in the way and in their way. So we are asking for this to be determined as a sole source provider. There is also a second vendor called Penley Consulting. They use a mindful leadership network. Boy, I can't speak tonight. And they go through basic neuroscience, stress and effects, and they use this network in developing school administrators and transformation of the schools. We cannot find another vendor that does what they do. So we are also asking under ORS 297B075 that they be declared a sole source vendor.
Question, the mindfulness one, is that related to the grant that we, is that through those funds?
It is, however, the grant requires also some district match, so this is our district match. This is the leadership network, and then the work that's happening in the schools is covered under the grant moving forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Is there a motion to approve the request for approvals of sole source procurements?
So moved to approve the approval of sole source procurements.
Second.
All the discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Annual staffing report, Candy.
Yes, thank you. I think, Josh, would you help me out? Thank you. My other tech guy stepped out. So last month, the board meeting, you received the annual staffing report, and I'm assuming you may or may not have brought that, but I will have it up on the screen here to follow along, and I just appreciate your patience with the presentation and moving it from last month to this month, so thank you. Thank you, Josh. Let's see if we can get this to work. You just turned it off, Haha, there we go. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with our total FTE, and just a reminder that the full-time employees, those are positions, not necessarily all of our employees, because we have some that job share, or that we have some part-time folks. So you'll see some of those numbers later, but this is our FTE broken down by employee groups. And you'll notice the totals are pretty similar each year, but this year's total is a little bit lower, and that is because of we did some reductions at elementary for this year because of class sizes. So average years of experience for our teaching staff, the largest group is between the experience years of 6 to 20, with the average being 13. And so based on that, we would still consider ourselves somewhat of a younger district, but you can see that we do have 16 teachers that have over 30 years of experience, of teaching experience, which is pretty incredible. So this is our staff, our teaching staff education level, and again, the majority of our teachers have a master's degree or above, with 10 of our teachers that have a PhD. And now we're going to talk about age, maturity level, we like to call it. The majority, I should say, of our teachers are between the ages of 31 and 50, as you can see on the chart. So on to teacher demographics. So although we do have more work to do in terms of this and of diversifying our workforce, and you can see that by the differences in our staff numbers versus our student numbers, I will say that each staff of color group has grown, has increased in the past 5 years. And for this particular group, teachers, it has grown just over 3% for our teachers of color. You will see later in the presentation that our quickest or largest growing groups of staff of color are within our administration and our classified group. Also in each of the groups, both student and staff, the highest growing or quickest growing group is our Hispanic population. For our new teacher demographics, we have 78 total new teachers. And with this group, actually something we're proud of is that 22% of them are staff of color, new hires of color. Our African American and Asian groups stayed almost the same as last year, but the largest growing group was our Hispanic and American Indian, Alaska Native groups. So a little bit about our new teachers. We have, like I said, we have 78 of them. And for us, this is a pretty large class or large group of teachers. And what that should tell all of us is that our principals were pretty busy this past spring and over the summer. Sometimes it can take days, if not weeks, to hire just one staff member, from the application process to pre-screening to interviewing to watching model lessons. So they were incredibly busy, as was our HR crew, because they also help support that process. But our new teachers, 80% of them have a master's degree or higher. 42% are first-year teachers. 37% of them have already taught 1 to 5 years. The average teaching experience among this group right here is almost 3 years, 2.67. And lastly, all of them so far are having an amazing experience in developing relationships with kids. Where did they go? So this chart just shows basically the distribution of all of our new teachers, from how many were at pre-K, how many elementary, middle, and high, and then the breakdown of what buildings and or locations they went to. Obviously, the highest is our early childhood program, and then next to that is our high school program. So this is our classified employee demographics, and again, similar to licensed, this group, the staff of color, has grown each year, but this growth was, I don't know if you want to call it faster or larger than our teaching group, where this group has grown slightly over 10% over the past 5 years. Administrator demographics, same thing. This is our 42 district administrators that is included in these stats, and our administrators of color have grown about 9% over the past 5 years. And with 2 of the 3 of our brand new hires are administrators of color. All right, a look at attrition. So what you're going to see on this chart is actually one of the highest rates of attrition that we've had in our district in a long time. And we're under retirements. We've had 19 this year, and you can look at what we've had in past years. And then resignations, 59 this year, and you can kind of see what we've had in past years. So we wanted to take a look at where were they going. Now we know where the retirees were going. Where did our resignees going? They're going, having a fun time, hopefully, well deserved. So our resignations, what we found is that about 34% of them were moving out of state, which is kind of interesting. It's a very large percentage. And then about 27% were leaving education altogether or were leaving for family reasons. And then our leaves, which were about the same, actually, and they've lowered over the years, but our leaves were primarily due to family reasons.
On the resignations, then, that's 61% are the balance going to other teaching jobs?
They are. Yes, they are. In fact, it was just a smattering of places, everywhere to ESDs, there was one at North Clackamas, there was, I think, 2 at Portland Public, and 1 in Park Rose, and so all the other resignations were getting positions in other places around our state.
Do you ask if it's because they want to be closer to home, so less of a commute? Because sometimes if someone's living in Beaverton and they work way out here, it's going to be attractive to take a job in Beaver Creek.
Yes, that absolutely impacts their decision. We don't necessarily, from HR, ask every single employee that leaves, but sometimes we know the reasons, sometimes we don't. But I know principals have more of the story on a lot of them, but that definitely impacts their decision. And we've had principals in the past that left us to work up in Washington because they live up there, and that commute was just too much for them. All right, this is always a fun slide to end on because this is our own students that graduated from David Douglas High School, and it not only shows that we believe in our product, but I think it says a lot about our employees who come back to work for us and want to give back to the communities that they grew up in and or finished high school in. So we have 115 currently, and it's broken down into 38 licensed, 73 classified, and then 4 of our administrators and supervisors were David Douglas High School graduates. And that concludes if you have any. Questions? Any questions?
She's over there.
Yell it out.
The process interviews for people leaving the district?
So we've started that process. We don't do that with every single one, although we will ask principals some questions like, why are they leaving? We've done more of that with some of our departments. So whether it's maintenance or bus drivers or business, those types of departments, we've done more exit interviews than we have of teachers. But again, sometimes we know their story a little bit more. Principals see them on a regular basis, and we have an idea of why they're leaving. What we do for our new teachers, if you're asking about kind of trying to understand their experience in David Douglas, what we do with new teachers are we're asking those questions around the support they've been given. Have they felt welcome? Do they have the resources they need? Was their training adequate? Their mentorship, and so we do that on a regular basis from this point with our new teachers.
Okay, so with all of, I guess, what was the starting point of that practice? Like how recent is that?
Which practice are you asking? The exit interviews?
The exit interview for teachers in particular.
For the new, for the exit.
When you say new, I don't know how new is new. Is that like just this year? You know, like for the last 3 years?
I believe we started that 2 years ago.
Okay.
I believe it's been about 2 years where we work with our during our new teacher academy and ask them those questions at the end of the year.
And is there not a policy that exit interview is done specifically by HR? Because I would think that you may get different answers if we're just looking at principals to do that and what somebody wants to say, how forthcoming they are to the person who was their boss, their direct supervisor, versus to a HR department, that would be different. So is it now the practice to do that through HR for the teachers in particular?
So it's a practice through HR with our departments. That's what we've started. And then through the teachers, it's not a regular practice at this point where we do an exit interview with every one of them. To be honest, we don't necessarily have that capacity to meet with the how many were there that resigned? 59 at this point. I can tell you that if we, there have been a few where we've asked to do that, but not all of them.
Okay. I would be concerned with, especially since there's such an effort being made in terms of equity in the district, that, and because still the disparity between teachers of color and students of color is still significant, that there would be a real concern with finding out, at least for the teachers of color that are leaving, for the administrators of color, for all those people, what, you know, to have that exit interview, because I think that would be a vital part of the equity work that we're doing in the district.
I totally agree. And we have been watching that to see who has been leaving.
Okay, so there's like an official record for that targets that in particular? Like to say, in other words, can we count on that at this point, that yes, every staff member who leaves, at least at this point, if it's just the people of color, that will happen?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will be doing that, and we've been keeping an eye on that for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of agree with Donna, because some of the discussions in equity that I've been in is that we want to make sure they feel welcomed and people aren't unintentionally making them not feel welcome.
Right. Exactly.
As you've been tracking demographics, do you know the demographics of the 59, the attrition rate?
Yes. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And we can share that. We can. I don't know if Candy has it now or not, but we can definitely follow up.
I do. I just have to find it. I thought I did. I may have to get that for you. I want to say. I may have to get that for you. I thought I had it. I apologize.
Okay. Well, for another future time.
Yeah. Yes.
And my last question was, besides the specific grow your own efforts, what are there other efforts, specific things that have been put in place towards addressing the diversity needs for all staffing, but especially for teachers?
Yes, so it hasn't gone without effort, that's for sure. We've posted positions in a variety of places, more so than we have in the past. Including a local radio station called The Numbers. That's just the posting and getting our name out there a little bit. We've also gone to additional job fairs. And what we really tried to work on this last year was our own job fair. So we hosted one at Fur Ridge campus, and we did actually get some community members that came in and got some positions out of that. Great. So that was great. And so we will continue to do that with a goal of doing one for licensed educators, because that one was more for paraprofessionals.
And how does word of those events get out to or who's targeted with that, and then how does it work?
Yeah, so that was just targeted for our community only. It could go everywhere, but we really wanted to focus on our community here in David Douglas. And so we put signs on local businesses, and we had it on our website, and just some of those ways of advertising that we normally do.
Do we ever send things to the parents directly?
I think we did on that too. We might have sent an email inviting them, if I remember. And again, I apologize because that was back in the spring, but I think we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, and your answer is there were 2 teachers of color in that 59.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stephanie, do you have any questions, comments? Over here?
No. I guess I have a couple of questions to kind of piggyback off of Donna's question. So I'm actually looking at this report or this plan that we were given at some point in the past, the strategic hiring plan.
Yes.
And it would be helpful to get an update on that moving forward. Is that the next part of this?
No, it's
Or-
not the next part, but I
Okay.
will get a copy of it. I have it here with me, and I'll
Yeah.
make sure you all have a copy of it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that copy is different than the one that I'm looking at here, but I think
It is.
okay, yeah, because I think, you know, in looking at the slides that have the information on the demographics, this one and then maybe one other, it would be helpful to then also get information on what the progress has been on that strategic hiring plan, in addition to the numbers, right? Because I got to be
Yes.
honest, the numbers are not where I would like them to be.
Right,
And so it would be helpful to hear what progress has, because I think, all of the right outcomes and measures are in there. And it seems like you all did a really great, engagement process to get to those goals. And so moving forward, it just would be helpful to hear more about those efforts and get a little bit more clarity on what's working, what's not working. How can we, as the board, be helpful in that? This is really important to me.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think just more detail there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's important to us too. We hear it from our students. And so, yes, I have an updated strategic hiring plan. The data on the back will look different because what we did was exactly what you're asking, because we wanted to see where has our growth been in every area since, we have a 5-year growth. So since 15-16 up to now, where are we at in classified, licensed, and administrative supervisor and manager? So that's what's on the new document that I will send to all of you.
Great.
And the other thing I do want to point out is you're right. We're finding some things that we're trying, but they're not always successful. And so we're continuing to try some more things. One thing that I think is important to know is that we get a report from the teacher prep program, and I think it comes out every 2 years. So this was from 16-17. And basically, the report is for, it's a report of every college and university in the state of Oregon, and who they're graduating and what their demographics looks like. So, for example, in the category of Black African American, in the entire state, enrollment was 50 for the entire state.
And this is for educators.
This is for educators. These are for licensed educators. So that's rough. That's there's 197 districts vying for 50 individuals. American Indian, Alaska Native, 27 in the state of Oregon. Asian, 101. 2 or more races, 131. Hispanic, Latino, 262. So this is statewide. So my point being is that we're trying a lot of things, and including word of mouth, including being a district of choice for our contract, having one of the best contracts and trying to attract folks that way, including starting an affinity group through Kelly Devlin's leadership, and making it a place where everyone feels welcome and has voice and has a safe spot. So all of those things, but it's not, our colleges and universities they're not there. So we're trying a couple of Grow Your Own programs. One, it's through Warner Pacific, and I think we're in our 3rd year there, but we're even seeing some gaps there. So right now we're having conversation and actually dreaming, because of our SSA dollars coming forward, and we're hearing from our community that this is important to them as well, that we are starting to plan in the hopes of starting next year another Grow Your Own program with our current high school students that keeps them connected with us when they graduate, and connected in that We're talking about hiring as IAs while they go to school and having a program in place for that, so that then after their first 2 years of undergrad work, then they're still connected with us in employment. And then coming back to us for pre-student teaching and student teaching, talking about how can we budget for scholarshiping, for books, for paid practicum work, all of that. And that's just, again, a piece that we haven't had in the past, that we've tried with a Grow Your Own program, but are missing some of those pieces. So we're learning along the way, but there's some definite things that we're trying to do because the population in education graduating to become teachers, that they're not out there. And in fact, the MESD is also starting a task force that I'll be sitting on, that is talking again about a Grow Your Own program and how to facilitate that.
Are there efforts as well outside of the state in light of these challenges? Are there specific efforts beyond Oregon to draw and attract teachers here? And in any incentive programs or things like that that would help with that?
Right. We haven't gone that route as a district. Again, that takes budget to do that. There's been some research around that, and some districts around us that have tried that. And it hasn't panned out to be that successful, because it's almost like displacing, bringing people from their home and then being here and not feeling like it's their home and going back. And it's not something I think we'd be adverse to trying, but it's not something that we've done that much of in the past. But we definitely, through word of mouth, and anytime we know of someone, we're definitely going after them.
So I don't know how many of those instructional assistants are people of color, but I'm wondering, what are we doing to help some of those become, certified teachers?
Yes, good question. So we hosted an informational, well, let me take a step back. We planned a program with Warner Pacific at last year. And at the end of the year, we hosted an informational meeting for our classified employees. And in particular, again, with the understanding that this is a perfect way to diversify, because as you can see by the numbers, that's our most diverse group, employee group. So we asked principals and even some of our affinity group members, please encourage. Sometimes, no matter where we're at in our life, we never really know for sure whether we can make something happen or not, or you might not even be thinking about it. But when you see an employee, a class, tell them how good they are. Encourage them to move forward in their education and become a teacher here in David Douglas. And so what was really, really exciting was, and this is part of the learning that I'm talking about, what was really exciting is that we had about, I want to say 40, maybe 42 classified employees attend that meeting, many classified employees of color. And so went through a process. And Warner, they came to that meeting. They had their dean of education. They had their financial aid specialist and their, what am I trying to say, scholarship. I mean, they had everyone around the table at that meeting. And so they were trying to work with people to make sure that they could do everything we could to scholarship or to get them the money that they needed, because we know what I'm going to say. It's very difficult to work and go to school at the same time. And our classified employees, they need their jobs during the day. So specifically for this program, we asked that it be held on site just for them. And we did allow some, I think we have Gresham Barlow and couple Reynolds, and so we did allow some other employee or other districts to join us. But they're hosted on site. They're in the evenings. It's kind of an accelerated version. And in the end, here was the learning, because we thought, oh my gosh, that's a great program. That's so accommodating, and it should be a good program for them to get through, so that they can student teach with us and become a teacher in our district. In the end, only 7 out of those 42 are actually going through the program. Now, we've made personal calls to those that didn't actually end up applying, and there's just a range of reasons. Some of it's financial, some of it's just too much to take on right now, but we're not going to quit that program. We're going to keep going with that because, as you see the demographics, this is a really big area that we can pull from to diversify, and they're already quote unquote teaching in our district. They're very valuable members of our school communities. So we learned from that. We're going to keep improving that, but then now we're trying to add a high school student component that's even greater than the one that we have right now.
So I just want to add to the conversation a little bit, and through this budgetary process, if we have grow your own dollars, if there is more funding, exactly what Candy's been sharing this whole time is looking at things different, right? Looking, how do we eliminate barriers? So paying student teachers part of their salary, looking at, we're really pushing at doing things differently, talking to Warner Pacific and PSU, looking at life experience and how can that be transcripted, right? The reality of a lot of the feedback we've gotten is the true cost of college isn't just the tuition, right? We all know that. So is there scholarships? Is there opportunities for us to invest in individuals in our communities? Obviously, we're talking about our students, but also some of our classified employees. Are there programs that we can develop and actually budget? So we're looking at that. But I want to flag, really what I wanted to flag is what we've heard more than the pipeline problem and issue we're talking about here isn't just that at the college level, right? Less than a month ago, we had an opportunity in our equity committee that we had the Black Student Union come present to us and have a conversation. And Donna specifically asked, hey, you thought about teaching, and kind of did that. And, often we get this answer, and I think that's the bigger picture, that it's not just an HR work. If I'm an individual that do not feel comfortable having identity in the school, why would I want to come back and work in the school? Right, so thinking through that lens and thinking about our equity department, our student services department, our curriculum department, and putting all those together to think through the HR perspective, because if we just shrug our shoulders, they're not in college. Well, of course, the young lady said, why I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to be, I think tokenized is what she said. And then Mo jumped up and said, well, yeah, but you can look at it as being chosenized or whatever. Mo's one of our amazing teachers. So we were recruiting, but so that's real though. That conversation is real. We had 3 young ladies today talk about not always feeling connected in relationship piece. So that's part of the importance of the work we're doing, that's all connected and aligned, that how do we make it to where our best and brightest, we say, hey, what did you think about teaching? And they see that in themselves and that identity, and how do we continue to make that happen? So anyway, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add that to the conversation, but I do think we're interested in bringing different budgeting strategies through this process that the board can consider as new ways to recruit and invest in our people.
I know that there's a fairly newly formed Teachers of Color group. But how are they engaging in this conversation?
So they are a newly formed group, and I have not been attending. I don't know if I want to put you on the spot, Kel, but
so they've been meeting and talking about priorities that they would like to communicate and give feedback to district level leadership. And so through the educational equity grant that we got through the Meyer Memorial Trust, there is some resources within there to be able to have some release time where people from our affinity group can meet with district administration to talk about what are some of the priorities that they see. And I'm looking at Ida out in the audience as well. I believe that at our last meeting, when they started brainstorming about different issues with regards to staff of color and what do they want to highlight besides professional development training, the number one thing that keeps coming up over and over again is hiring a more diverse workforce. But also talking about proactive ways to who on our committee or our group would like to serve as mentors or peer mentors, like whether it's students who are attending David Douglas High School currently that might want to think about being teachers, or who, which candidates of color are already in our university system that they can come and talk to teachers who are working, come and shadow with them, mentor with them. And so they're talking about all different kinds of ways of how do we work in tandem with our human resource department, because they're out there in the field right now. Then just trying to figure out when that timing is going to happen. I think that's where we're at right now. But I think the brainstorm and the conversation is there, but it's how to work together with our current staff of color and our HR department and leadership. It is a priority of them.
That's great. And I think, as much as you all can be proactive in reaching out to them too in these conversations so that they can be engaged, I think that would be appreciated, knowing that, they may not know that this is a conversation that they're able to participate in or, have their own ideas, but, certainly it, I think would be appropriate for that conversation to happen, given that it's a shared priority.
Just to piggyback on that, I have to say that since I've been on this board, and I know even before my tenure, this has been a concern of our district. I think that in the last 3 years, it's been a real concern of everyone. And what I'm seeing are new things in place that did not exist before. We have a racial equity committee. We have this new, staff of color group. We have intentional, support that we're providing. We're asking students. I mean, I think that it isn't a problem for you to solve, Candy. It's not a problem for HR to solve. It's our problem, and we all own a piece of that, right? And I just have to say it's going the right direction. At least it's not going the other direction. It's slow and it's painful, and we understand, there are steps along the way that we're going to learn from. Mm-hmm. But I think now, more than we have in the past, there are lots of pieces coming into place that it makes me hopeful. It's not where I want it to be either, as a mom of 2 kids of color in the district too. But I do have to commend all of you and all of us for taking this very seriously and for owning pieces of it. So thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, moving on. Let me see, the OSBA election. This is an action item. Oh,
no, you have.
Oh my gosh, I passed right over that, the enrollment report. Just
I
kidding.
guess I'm not done yet. I'll be very brief on this one, though. So in front of you, you have the October 1 enrollment report. And what I will be brief. I'm just going to share a few highlights and lowlights and explain what the pages say on them. And then you'll just have some time to digest that later. But so if you turn to the first page, this page shows every school by grade level and program for enrollment. And I'm not sure, do you have that in front of you? Oh, yeah. It looks like
the gray one.
There it is. You got it. And I think there's no other way I'm not going to sugarcoat it because this has been happening now for about 5 years, but we are down in enrollment. So on this page, you can see that we're down 135 students in elementary, 16 at middle school, and then 142 at high school. So for a total K-12 of, we're down 3%. And then, sorry. Thank you. The only good news is that, oh, it started again. There you go. The only good news is it's not as much. It's not down as much as it was last year at this time. So maybe there's a chance that our decreasing enrollment is slowing down a little bit. We'll wait and see for next year, but definitely we're down again. And I think I shared with you earlier I think it was September. We had a large group of our students, when we're getting records requests, they are being requested from out of state. So they were leaving out of state. And then the next largest group, it was just a kind of a smattering of districts all around Oregon. So unfortunately, we're down. On the next page or pages, the page 2 is our student ethnicity, and that's by percentage. And again, you can see, like I shared in my staffing report, our largest growing group or quickest growing group is our Hispanic population. The next page on 3 is just a breakdown by school. So you can see for ethnicity and then race and gender. Page 4 shows you kind of what I was talking about. Since 2015, we've been going down in enrollment. And for 2019, not quite as bad as we were last year, but still going down. If you go to page 5, it's a 3-year comparison by school. So you can see the school, the program. I know there was a question about our ESL students. So I know that you had received, I think via email, just a addition to that page that you can see our ESL numbers by school. And then the next several pages are just some line plots of enrollment by levels. So district enrollment, and then we have elementary, middle, high. But again, you can see all of the lines going in a downward trend. And then on page 12, I just wanted to point out pages 12, 13, and 14, those pages show class sizes. And you'll notice that for elementary, and that's on page 12, that the green line, the green is this year, 2019, and you'll see that that it is the highest number that we've had in 3 years, and actually another page will show you it's almost been 17 years since we've had this low of class size. So under 25, we have now 69, or at that point, 69 classes that were under 25. So this is elementary, and you can see the smaller class sizes are definitely showing up on this page. We always have a few hot spots, we call them, but for the majority, class sizes are pretty low. And then what I'm talking about with 17 years of lowest averages, if you go to page 14, you can see for 2019, from kinder up to 5th grade, pretty much almost all the averages are lower this year for class size than they have been since 2002. And then on the next pages, 15, the remaining pages, it shows then middle school and high school section averages. And again, we have some higher in spots and we have some lower in spots. But again, a lot of the class sizes are pretty reasonable. And some, like I said, are lower, some are higher. But the remaining pages will kind of show you some of those that are secondary. And then the last page is the 5-year comparison. So you can see the core subject classes and then class sizes for elementary and core for secondary. So it's a lot of data to look at. But again, our enrollment is going down, not quite as much this year at this time as it was last year at this time. So maybe we're a little hopeful that it's not going down. Maybe it's starting to go back up a little bit, and that would be our prediction in the next 5 years, but we'll see.
Just a comment because I get an email, but the city has focused on displacement in East Portland. We're the most vulnerable area of the city for displacement right now. And the planning, Bureau of Planning Sustainability, actually I've been sending her data because she is bringing forth our declines and Park Rose declines to show how this displacement is occurring. So they're using some of our data. I've convinced them that our schools are the barometer. We were seeing the decline before the city was recognizing the displacement out here. And so they're starting to use some of our data on watching that and focusing on getting affordable housing out here, et cetera. So.
So Sahar had to leave, but she wanted to flag and ask the flag page 3 that we only have male and female students listed. What about students outside the gender binary? So I think that's something for us to think about. How do we change that, update that, and make sure that we're capturing accurate data?
We'll definitely do that. Thank you. And if we can do it for this year, I'll send that out to everyone.
Oh, just I know Aaron was going to reach out to you about the ESL population because there was a big jump in Ventura Park, and we had a discussion that, and I know the data can be gotten, is it from a specific area? I don't believe there's any new affordable complex in that particular area, but there are affordable complex in that area. Was it one specific ethnic group? Because especially with our immigrant population, they like to be together, especially new immigrants, because I guess it was really a jump in the kindergarten, especially the kindergarten area. And so he was questioning. So there's some areas about how to look at the demographics, because if you see the plotting where they live, if they're coming from one specific spot, it might be affordable housing unit that has had some turnover where it's the ethnic group has moved in, et cetera. So, but I send them to you.
Any other questions? Yes, Jared. Oh, you have to go? Okay, go ahead. Thanks so much for staying so long. Appreciate it. Okay. Finally moving on to the OSBA election. This is an action item. I think we got to take a few votes here. We still have one, two. I don't know how we're going to do this.
But there's only one person running for each position, so.
Yeah. I already checked a bunch. So do you all want to, well, I guess we'll go down the list. We'll go down the list. We'll start with position 17.
You're going to vote on them individually?
Well, I just want to make sure that instead of doing a slate, we're still okay, right? Because I guess there could be a case where someone maybe doesn't like the person who's running, right? That's why I want to go through, right? Maybe, I don't know. Probably not. Might as well. It's short. I think this is the last thing. So for 17, it looks like John Lindenthal. How do folks feel about that person? All those in favor?
He's one of the few I don't know.
Yes? Aye? Okay. 18, we have Chris Howitt?
Howitt. She's been there for quite some time.
Oh, okay. Howitt. That's right. I've seen that person. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, now I know. So we're good. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, 18, Jessica Rosarte. All those in favor? Aye.
Met her.
Sonia McKenzie, 19. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then Rita Moore. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, cool. So let's probably just have to do one more.
And that's pretty good.
Do we have to vote on it one more time?
Sonia's African American.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Met her.
Yeah, okay.
She's been
So I think those were all of them, so we'll go ahead and get that submitted. So the last thing that we have is the board policies. And that is Frida.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We are on the board policy.
Oh,
second
I
reading
didn't know
of
I had
the-
to introduce it. It's just second reading. It's,
Says
if
you.
anyone wanted any changes, now is the time. Otherwise, they're just accepted.
Well, I just wanted to thank Lori for putting in the extra stuff in the agenda that says whether it's personnel, instruction, students, community relations, what it
Yes.
goes with, instead of just the letters. Thank you. Yeah, and the yellow card, very
Yes,
helpful.
the yellow card as well.
Because we don't usually vote on it. Once it's second reading, it's accepted, isn't it?
Well, we vote today. Yeah, we vote today. We don't vote on the first reading. Cool. So, if there are no other.
I'll
I
move.
move. I second.
Okay, you can move. No one's been moving tonight, that's why. Okay, I'll move to accept the board policies as listed. I'm not gonna read them all out.
So moved.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I.
Aye.
Just so you're aware on the equity, because I know they wanted to
We should have
prove
done.
that Aaron had a few edits. He was gonna send them out to the policy committee and you and Ken and Lori. He had a few edits. It's more wording, I guess, than anything. On the equity policy? Yeah. But that would be No, are they on the policy committee? No. They're oh, I guess because you sent out an email, so I was suggesting that. We should try to accommodate them if possible. Yeah, okay. Okay, then
Yeah,
I'll
I'll probably respond.
Are you still on the policy committee? No. Oh. Okay, I'll make sure he gets it, because yeah, okay, because I told him if he sent it to me, I'd look too, because I wasn't going to look at it until this weekend, so.
I forgot to say opposed. All those opposed? No one? Okay, thanks.
Discussion.
Discussion.
Kyle's trying to be parliamentarian.
Sorry. Okay. 30-second recess, I guess. Sorry, y'all. Thanks. Outside of recess now, I think. Okay, so to clarify, I didn't identify the actual policies that we voted on. So to clarify, the ones that we just approved are the ones listed here in the agenda.
My motion said that.
And
you
I
did?
would second.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, she said that. Great. Okay, and with that, there's some other information on here, but I will go ahead and call the meeting at, 9:07. Thank you all so much.